Hello dear learners, I am Hemant Raje, English teacher at Demonstration Multipurpose School RI Gopal. Today we are going to discuss lesson 3 of your Honeycomb main course textbook, and the title of today's discussion is Gopal and the Hilsa fish. Dear learners, have you ever read a comic book? A comic book contains stories told mainly through pictures, and this story is in the form of comic. At the first instance, I will narrate the whole story for you. Once there was a king and his witty courtier named Gopal. One day, the king challenged Gopal to complete a certain task. No doubt, Gopal has completed that task successfully. Now dear learners, how Gopal had completed that task, we will come to know when we will move on to the story. So let's begin with the story. It was the season for Hilsa fish. Fishermen could think of nothing but Hilsa fish. Fishmongers sold nothing but Hilsa fish. One fishmonger was tempting the people by saying, "Come, buy, the price of Hilsa is down today." Even householders could talk of nothing but Hilsa fish. One householder said, "How much did you pay for that Hilsa?" Now the fishmonger replied, "You wouldn't believe it if I told you." And in the palace too, the courtiers could discuss nothing but Hilsa fish. One courtier said, "Your Majesty, you should have seen the huge Hilsa I caught. It was." Now the king shouted in anger, "Stop it! Are you a courtier or a fisherman?" The courtier fell silent with downcast eyes. The king felt guilty. Now the king said, "I am sorry, I lost my temper. It is the season for Hilsa fish and no one." As the king was thinking, not even Gopal can stop anyone from talking about Hilsa fish, not even for 5 minutes. "Oh, I think I could, Your Majesty." Now the king thought, "Then let me see you buy a huge Hilsa and bring it to the palace without anyone asking you a word about it." Gopal replied, "I accept the challenge, Your Majesty." A few days later, Gopal's wife asked, "Why is your face half shaven?" Gopal replied, "I am dressing up to buy a fish." Again, Gopal's wife asked, "What's the matter with you? Why are you smearing yourself with ash?" Now again Gopal replied, "I told you I am dressing up to buy a Hilsa fish." Now the Gopal's wife told again, "Listen to me, please. You can't possibly go out in those disgraceful rags. What are you up to?" Again Gopal replied, "How many times must I tell you, woman? I am out to buy a huge Hilsa fish." Now Gopal's wife was thinking, "It's happened to him, he is gone mad." Gopal bought the Hilsa fish and started walking towards the palace. And one child commented on Gopal by saying, "Mother, look at that man, isn't he comical?" And in the midway, two people were discussing about Gopal. One said, "He must be a madman," and another one is, "Shh, I think he is a mystic." When Gopal reached the court, guards asked, "What do you want?" Gopal replied, "I want to see the king." Guards said, "You can't see the king, get away with you." Now Gopal began to dance and sing loudly. As inside the palace, the king heard the commotion and ordered the guard, "Bring that man to me at once." And guard replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." Now Gopal was brought before the king, and one of the courtiers who was there inside the court recognized that person as Gopal. Two courtiers were discussing in the court that one said, "The man has lost his mind," and another said, "I think it's one of his crazy jokes." Then king said, "All right, Gopal, out with it. Why are you dressed up in this ridiculous fashion?" Then Gopal replied, "Your Majesty, you seem to have forgotten something, as the king was thinking, forgotten something. Now Gopal replied, strangely enough, no one seems to be interested in Hilsa fish today. From the market to the palace and in the court, not a soul has spoken a word about Hilsa fish. Only then did the king remember the challenge he had thrown to Gopal. Ha ha! Well, Gopal, congratulations, you have achieved the impossible once again. So, in this way, with his wisdom, intelligence and presence of mind, Gopal has completed his challenge. So dear learners, there are many obstacles and many problems in our life, but if we are intelligent enough and if we are wise enough and we have a presence of mind, then we can overcome from all kinds of difficulties that is there in our life. So dear learners, we are going to discuss new words that is there in the story. Just I am going to read all these words for you. Here is the word meanings are, the first word is Hilsa, a kind of fish, fisherman, a person who sells fish. Now the third word is courtiers. Courtiers are the ministers in the court. Smearing means applying or rubbing. Disgraceful. Disgraceful means disrespectful or scornful. Mystic, a person with magical powers. Ridiculous. Ridiculous means funny or humorous. Now the last word is majesty, a title given to a king or queen. So dear learners, this is all about the new words which are there in the story. So dear learners, I hope all these words are clear to you, and we will move on to the another exercise that is based on true and false. So we will discuss true and false based on this chapter, based on this story. So here are some true and false. So try to give the answer. Write true or false against each of the following sentences. Yes, we have seen in the story the king lost his temper easily. So the first sentence is true. Second one is Gopal was a madman. No, Gopal was not a madman. So this statement is false. Coming to the third one, Gopal was a clever man. Of course, Gopal was a clever man. So this statement is true. Coming to the fourth one, Gopal was too poor to afford decent clothes. No, Gopal was not the poor man. He was a courtier in the royal palace. So there is no chance to be poor. So dear learners, here the answer will be false. The king got angry when he was shown to be wrong. Now the answer for this statement is false. So dear learners, this is all about the true and false, and I expect that all the true false are clear to you. So dear learners, we have another exercise for you that is based on the short answer type question, and I will give you an expected answer of each question. So let's begin with this exercise. So dear learners, here are some short answer type questions. The first question is, who was Gopal? Now the answer is, Gopal was a courtier in the king's court, known for his wisdom and presence of mind. So dear learners, we have seen in the story that Gopal was a witty courtier who was known for his wisdom and presence of mind. So this is the expected answer for this question. Now moving ahead, here is the second question. So dear learners, here is the second question for you. Why did the king want no more talk about the Hilsa fish? Here is the answer. The king wanted no more talk about the Hilsa fish because he was fed up of listening about the Hilsa fish. So dear learners, we have seen in the story that the king was fed up of listening about the Hilsa fish, as everyone in the royal palace, in the royal court was talking about the Hilsa fish. So that was the reason. Now moving ahead, here is another question. What did the king ask Gopal to do to prove that he was clever? Now the answer is, the king asked Gopal to buy a huge Hilsa fish from the market and bring it into the palace without anyone asking a word about it. So dear learner, this is the answer for this question. Now moving ahead, we have some more questions. So here is the fourth question for you. What three things did Gopal do before he went to buy his Hilsa fish? Now the answer is, Gopal half shaved his face, smeared himself with ash and wore disgraceful rags before going out to buy Hilsa fish. So dear learners, these three things Gopal did to complete his challenge. So we have some more questions and we will move ahead. Why did the king lose his temper? So the expected answer for this question is, the king lost his temper because courtiers were talking about the Hilsa fish and he was fed up of listening about the Hilsa fish. So dear learners, in the story, the king lost his temper because he was fed up of listening about the Hilsa fish. So that was the reason that he was in anger. Now moving ahead, here are some more questions to discuss. How did Gopal get inside the palace to see the king after he had bought the fish? Now the answer is, Gopal started singing and dancing loudly in front of the palace. The king heard the noise and asked the man to be brought inside. So that was the technique adopted by Gopal to get inside the palace. So this is the expected answer of this question. Now here is another question for you. Explain why no one seemed to be interested in talking about the Hilsa fish which Gopal had bought. Now the answer is, no one seemed to be interested in talking about the Hilsa fish because Gopal's funny appearance attracted the attention of people much more than the Hilsa fish. So dear learners, we have seen in the story that Gopal's funny appearance attracted the people, those who were standing in the midway. So that was the reason no one seemed to be interested in talking about the Hilsa fish. Here is another question for you. What did Gopal's wife think about him? Now the answer is, Gopal's wife thought that her husband had gone mad. Now the another question is, where was Gopal going along with the Hilsa fish? Now the answer is, Gopal was going towards the palace along with the Hilsa fish. So we have seen in the story that Gopal was going towards the palace carrying Hilsa fish along with him to complete his challenge. Now dear learners, here is the last question for you. What did the child on the road say about Gopal to his mother? The child on the road said that the man was comical. So this was the comment given by a child when Gopal was moving towards the palace. So dear learners, we have discussed all the answers of these questions thoroughly. So try to write all the answers in your own words, and definitely this will improve your writing skills. So dear learners, here is another exercise for you, and this exercise is based on the grammar, and in this exercise we will come to know how to change direct speech into indirect speech. Change the following sentences in this story to reported speech. So here is the first reported speech, that is, why is your face half shaven? So this was the question asked by Gopal's wife. So here is, Gopal's wife asked him why his face was half shaven. So dear learners, here your face will become his face, as here is Gopal, because we are talking about Gopal, and is, which is the helping verb of present continuous tense, and this helping verb will change into the helping verb of past continuous tense, that is was. Now here is the second question for you. I accept the challenge, Your Majesty. So this was the statement given by Gopal. So here is, Gopal told the king that he accepted the challenge. Whenever we change direct speech into indirect speech, so in general rules we use that as a conjunction, and here it is in present indefinite tense, and this tense will change into corresponding past tense, that is past indefinite tense. So the indirect speech will be, Gopal told the king that he accepted the challenge. Now coming to the third question, here Gopal told the guards that he wanted to see the king. So dear learners, Gopal told the guards, this reporting verb is already there in your textbook, and you see this sentence, I want to see the king, is in present indefinite tense. So of course this sentence or this tense will change into corresponding past tense, that is past indefinite tense, and Gopal here is the subject, and we will use he pronoun here. So the indirect speech will be, Gopal told the guards that he wanted to see the king. Now here is the fourth question, bring the man to me at once. So this sentence belongs to imperative sentence, and in the imperative sentence we talk about the request, command or advice. So here is, the king ordered the guard to bring the man to him at once. So because it is an imperative sentence, so here we will not use that as a conjunction. So this is all about the reported speech, and I expect that this exercise is clear to you, and I will give you some more questions to practice. So try to change all these direct speech into indirect speech. So here are some questions. I am going to read all these questions for you. Change the following direct speech into indirect speech. The first question is, he said, I like music. Second one is, I told him, you are stupid. Third one is, he said to me, she is not listening the music. Another is, she said, are they waiting for me? And the last one is, he said to me, what are you doing? So these are the 5 sentences based on direct speech. So try to change all these direct speech into indirect speech. So dear learners, we have another exercise which is based on the picture reading. It's a very interesting exercise, and I am sure that you will enjoy this exercise. So here we are going to discuss about the story writing based on the picture reading. Now you see in this picture, in the first picture, there is a stag by the side of a pond, and in the second picture you see, how beautiful my horns are, and in the third picture, but my legs are so thin and ugly, and in the fourth picture, hunters, run for your life. So dear learners, these are the 4 statements or the 4 clues which is attached to each picture in this slide. So dear learners, try to understand what is going on in this picture. And here is another picture which is related to this story writing, this picture reading. You see, let me hide somewhere, and in the another picture there is, these branches, oh no, and you see, they are too close, get out of here. And in the last picture you see, I was proud of my horns, they could have caught my death, and I was ashamed of my legs, they saved me. So dear learners, based on the picture reading, try to write a story and give it to a suitable title, and definitely this will help you to improve your writing skills. So dear learners, we have discussed some new words, true false, and some short answer type question and also an exercise which is based on direct and indirect speech. So dear learners, I expect that all these exercises will help you to understand this chapter thoroughly. Dear learners, there are many difficulties, many problems in our life, and if we are wise enough and if we do any work with our presence of mind, then definitely we can overcome from any kind of challenge that is there in our life. Dear learners, we will be back with some more interesting topics. Till then, have a nice day. Goodbye.